It's been a little while, and Tim. I'm very, very sad because Gavin McLeod left us.
Oh, that was just a dude, Captain Stubing.
Yeah.
And of course, Murray. For me, I've been Captain Stubing. Yes,
Murray,
of course.
yeah.
But Murray from the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yeah.
And he and I both had the exact same crush on Mary at the exact same time, even though he was a married man. And I think I told you when we were passing some emails, there's an episode, late 60s episode of Hawaii Five-0.
I know.
Where he plays this pimp. He's a pimp drug dealer, and he's real hip and mod, and he has on these little blue sunglasses, the little round grain glasses that everybody's wearing in the 60s, except that they were completely contemporary to the day, and a tie-dye shirt, and he's just this vicious pimp drug dealer. And you know what? He was already bald in that episode of Hawaii Five-0.
He never got enough credit for the great actor that he really was. And, the first one from the Love Boat to leave us, as everyone knows by now, I've been doing nothing but watching Love Boat reruns at every opportunity on Pluto TV, which has, a full running loop of Love Boat all day long. And I even got to plug it on Film Week last week. I plugged my Love Boat obsession. But here's the thing. As schmaltzy and wacky as that show can be, there's some great acting in it. I mean, some really amazing acting, like the episode where they introduce Vicky, his daughter, right, who becomes a regular on the show at a certain point. The whole narrative there is that he never knew he had a daughter. This is the daughter he never knew he had. They start to develop the relationship, but, because of her aunt and uncle who've now brought her into his life, they're going to take her away again. She wants to stay, and he wants her to stay, but she's got to go. And it's a whole Douglas Sirkian melodrama. And eventually there's the big moment at the end where aunt and uncle say, "We want her to stay with you," which you knew was coming. And then she comes in with the glycerin tears because she's like 13 years old, right? She can't cry on command. You can tell it's a full-on glycerin tear. It's not even moving. It's halfway down her cheek and it's frozen. Some makeup person went in there with an eyedropper, drip, 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 ran out of frame, action. You just knew that was going on. And she's trying. She's giving her best. But then they turn to him, and so help me God Almighty, he kills that moment. Just the look in his eyes. Here it is. It's the Love Boat, dude. It's not high art. It's one schmaltzy story. It's fine. The writing is adequate, but Gavin McLeod gives it like an Oscar level effort, and there's just this look in his eyes that speaks volumes. It's amazing. It's an amazing piece of acting. It's amazing.
I agree with you 100%. A lot of the acting, a lot of the storylines on that show, and yeah, like you said, Smallsy and all this kind of a lot of stuff, and the doctor running around always trying to with the widows and all that kind of stuff. But in every episode of that show, there would be some sort of a B storyline that had some real serious heart stuff right in the middle of it.
Oh yeah,
and that was the secret of that show. And Gavin McLeod was a big wonderful part of it. All kinds of, he's a wonderful character actor, just across the decades, really, going back to the middle 50s. If you can follow Gavin McLeod, and how old was he? Was like 90 something, if I'm not mistaken.
91, I think. 90 or 91. Yeah.
Of the old Mary Tyler Moore crew, we lost Ted Knight fairly early on, maybe some 20 odd years ago. We lost Ted. But and Mary, not too terribly long ago, a few years ago, we lost Mary. But Lou Grant, still hanging in. Lou Grant. Ed Hasner. Excuse me.
He's 91 as well. He will be 92 in November.
Betty White, of course, still here. Still hanging in. Way out
like
there.
170.
And of course, we don't want to forget about James. Oh my God, what's his name? Played the dad in Good Time. He's still around. Not only is he still around, he still looks like he could knock me out. It's how fantastic he's looking.
We're talking. Let's see. John Amos still.
John Amos.
Yes. Valerie Harper left us.
Oh, Valerie.
Yeah, John Amos. My goodness, he's still. How old is John Amos?
How old is he indeed? I swear to God, he looks the exact same as he did on in Good Times.
He's 81.
81 years old. Yeah,
Oh.
I love John Amos because on that show he played the sports guy and he played him completely straight. And he was hysterically funny on that show. But yeah, anyway, there we go. Murray, boy. Gavin McLeod, Captain Stubing. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and we lost Georgia Engel 2 years ago too.
Yeah.
That's really sad. She was so funny. Gosh. Well, anyway, classic television. Well, let's get into it. We got a lot to deal with this week. Should we hit TV first? New movies? What do you feel like?
If you don't mind, just because they're sort of interesting, I'd like to poke at a few of these 4Ks.
Oh yeah,
if there are only a few of them here, and some of them sort of interest me, particularly The Last Action Hero.
Steelbook. It's a 4K steelbook. It's fantastic.
It's going to be packed with all kinds of great stuff in it, I'm sure. Look, this is a movie that didn't do very well at the box office, but it's grown, developed a bit of a cult following over the ensuing decades. 90, what was that? 90, I don't know, I can't remember.
That is
93-ish, I think. 93-ish.
93, yeah.
There you go. My wife, my late wife is in that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She had a scene. Right. She had a scene with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The scene never made it into the movie, but sometimes it pops up in deleted scenes in various different versions of DVD releases. I always thought that very meta movie, one of the early meta movies about movies, a movie within a movie, and the action hero comes off the screen to do all kinds of stuff. I always thought that movie was really, really funny. I particularly love Charles Dance in that movie, and it was to me it's a better movie than history records it as. If you look at its IMDb profile or something like that,
I could not agree with you more. I was a big fan of two movies from that period that everyone else ripped on. Excuse me for the coughing. I got sick from my daughter this last week.
No.
I may have some coughing fits here, but. There was Hudson Hawk was the first one, and The Last Action Hero with Schwarzenegger, which I just think I think they're both underrated and terrific, and it's I'm thrilled that they're getting evaluated. This comes with Dolby Atmos and Movies Anywhere code. It looks and sounds phenomenal. John McTiernan commentary on it, deleted alternate scenes, alternate ending, which is no big deal. Behind the scenes featurette. It's really just loaded. The McTiernan commentary is pretty terrific. But here's the thing about this movie. It's basically Sherlock Jr. Taken to the level of an action film, or Woody Allen's Purple Rose of Cairo, kind of, it's that, breaking the wall between movies and reality thing. But it is so philosophically self-reflexive, like where Schwarzenegger says to himself, "Do you know how much pain you've caused me?" That's deep, dude. That's deep. Going deep for it really is. It really is. And, McTiernan, I'd like to see him direct again. He's paid his due. I don't know if anybody's throwing work at him, but I sure would.
Well, that's a reference to a whole wacky thing that happened with the director of that movie. McTiernan also directed the original Die Hard movie. He was a big time director for quite a while. A bunch of wacky stuff happened in the 90s. And anyway, he's good and he's back. Super 8. This is what, like the 20 it's an anniversary. It's 10 years. What is it?
Yeah, it is the anniversary. It is I think it's the 10-year anniversary, right?
I guess it's 10-year anniversary. Funny, somehow it seems longer, which is very strange. And perhaps that owes that this is J.J. Abrams, of course, homage to movies from the 80s, particularly Spielberg movies from the 80s. A lot of E.T., a lot of monster movie stuff in there. To me, this movie was always a bit too much of that.
Yeah. And
it should have been more of its own standalone movie. But it's so deeply engaged in being that love letter to Spielberg and others, I suppose. That's the actual narrative. It loses the thread of the narrative of what it's about, and it's a little unsatisfying for that reason for me.
So I can say nothing bad about this movie now because I'm conflicted. So here's the deal. I have not even had the courage to listen to the audio commentary, which features J.J. Abrams and producer Brian Burke and Larry Fong. The reason I have not had the courage to listen to it is because even before I got this thing, Brian Burke texted me the interview that they all gave with Forbes recently, in which he flat out, he's told this story before. I don't know if he's ever named me, but where he flat out names me as the guy who introduced him to Matt Reeves, enabled him to meet J.J. Abrams. So I got called out in that thing. So I'm kind of afraid to listen to the commentary because I don't know if I'm named on it. But either way, I'm Tim. I love this movie. I love it so much.
You know what? I'm talking crap. It's actually quite a fun movie.
There would be no Stranger Things without this movie.
Yeah, there'd be no Stranger Things, and I'm one to talk about paying homage. I pretty much bite everything I do whenever I do something creative. So it's really sort of sweet of JJ to do that, and I do like the fact that it's an original story. The screenplay is by JJ as well.
Yeah, and it has a bunch of featurettes and a little tidbit on the train crash scene, which is very interesting and very good. And you know what? 4K, it's looking good.
Yeah.
Tim, were you a fan of the Final Countdown?
Actually, I was. Don Taylor's film. Kirk Douglas, movie. Martin Sheen. Look, this is a real big think movie. It's another one of those movies where, at the time that it came out, did so. But as we reflect back and from some of these things now, it's a really sort of interesting movie with a lot of interesting ideas. A whole aircraft carrier gets thrown back in time to 1941, right around the time that the whole Pearl Harbor thing is about to go down, and what the hell they're going to do about it. The special effects still stand out in this movie. They're completely watchable. What do you got there? Is that this is a 4K? How does it look?
This is a fantastic looking 4K. I saw this movie 2 or 3 times as a kid in the theaters. It was so cool. It was one of the first really super cool time travel movies, right? James Ferrantino, Charles Durning was really cool in it. Ron O'Neal shows up in this thing. It's like all these people that I really, really loved at that time. It's a fun movie. And it comes with audio commentary with Victor Kemper, the DP. There is also an interview with Lloyd Kaufman, who was a producer on the film, and interviews with the Jolly Rogers F-14 fighter squadron. It's really, really cool. And John Scott did the soundtrack. There's a soundtrack CD. I mean, again, I'm not that familiar with what the yes, it's that Lloyd Kaufman.
Yeah.
So anyway. So also on 4K, My Fair Lady.
Yes.
Which is freaking gorgeous and beautiful and wonderful.
My favorite of the many iterations of this film. This is my favorite of all. George Cukor's My Fair Lady.
Here's the thing about My Fair Lady on 4K. This thing has been out on Blu-ray, and it's been a bit of a disaster because the colors weren't right. They didn't take it from the right elements. Like, this thing was restored. Robert Harris, who's talked to us on this show before, I'm going to get him again very soon to talk about this and some other stuff. But he was very unhappy with some of the previous releases because they didn't do it right. They didn't go to the right elements. This one gets it right. It is finally out there. It is finally right. You can put it into your Vudu library. It comes with the code. I'll tell you, it's My Fair Lady. It's on 4K. It won 8 Academy Awards in 1964, and it's Audrey Hepburn at her level best.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. It has tons of great features on it on the second disc. It's got a little making of kind of featurette thing. It's got an original 1963 production kickoff dinner featurette, which is really nostalgic and fun. Footage of the LA premiere, the British premiere, and footage of George Cukor directing. It's really great. It's really great.
Dude, 20 years since Shrek?
Crazy, right?
That's anyway, whatever. But there it is, 20 years. Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, all that kind of stuff. Look, Shrek, animation in me, particularly it's sort of American big studio animation, don't always go together. Always loved Shrek. Loved Shrek, particularly Eddie Murphy and Shrek and Mike Myers. This was just a damn good movie.
Yeah, I agree. It's a fun movie. The animation still holds up much better than some other animated films I've seen recently. The satire still holds up. And, I think even some of the slightly naughty humor, I think my daughter will appreciate it at her age. She's now kind of into that stuff. So, excuse me. Yeah. Some fun stuff. A lot of stuff on animation and how they put it together, deleted scenes, music videos, commentary by the filmmakers. and 4 hours worth of additional extras on the Blu-ray. So it's good. And a Movies Anywhere code. You can add it to Movies Anywhere and all the rest of your streaming operations, and you'll have it in your digital locker. Our last 4K here is a DC Universe movie, Justice Society World War II. Pretty cool. I don't know how many people out there are as enamored of the Justice Society as I am, but Justice Society is part of the golden age of comic books. It preceded the Justice League. It's part of a different part of the multiverse. It's a different Superman, a different Flash, a different Green Lantern, a different Wonder Woman. It's pretty cool how they put this one together. It really pays homage to that particular period of comics, and it's awesome. It's faithful. It bridges the multiverse a little bit. It's got Barry Allen kind of dipping through the multiverse, but it's great. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think anybody who knows the way that all that part of the DC universe all kind of connects will really appreciate it. And that's Justice Society World War II DC Universe movie on 4K.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. A couple of new movies I actually know because I saw them. Minari, it didn't take that long to reach us. Lee Isaac
sure didn't.
Chung's film with Stephen Yeun, and it's just a wonderful, beautiful movie about this family that immigrates actually from California, but immigrates, Korean family, to the Midwest, to Kansas. To work in a chicken factory, but also to try to start a farm. It's just this beautifully poetic movie. It looks beautiful. As it happens, I was stationed in Blytheville, Arkansas, exactly at the moment in time in which this movie is set, which of course is the moment in time when Lee Isaac Chung was a child, more or less. It's his story.
Experience.
And he was a child on some farm in Arkansas that probably wasn't 10 miles from where I was stationed at an Air Force base in Arkansas. And I got to tell you, he gets all of that right. Arkansas in 1982, 83, whatever it was, and the look and the sound and the politics and the people, and even that sort of Korean component of all of that, he just gets exactly right. So this was just a beautiful movie, and it got a whole lot of Academy Award attention.
It did, and it would have been my picture for Best Picture. I love this movie. I think it's great. And Yoo Jung-yoon as the grandmother deserves her Oscar through and through. That is just that is a tour de force. She's an amazing actress and a wonderful lady. So that could not have made me happier. Here's what I think is interesting to dovetail from that to another new movie, which is The Nest, which is also one of my favorite films of the year. I thought for sure this film by Sean Durkin, who did Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene some years ago. Me? I'm going to be coughing through the whole show. Get used to it. It's what happens when you have, an 8-year-old. But he did The Nest, which I thought for sure would be in the Oscar mix, and it wasn't, because it came out too early in a very weird season. But Minari and The Nest basically tell the same story. Mm-hmm. And we could also say that Minari and The Nest tell the same story as The Mosquito Coast. Mm-hmm. But they all tell it from a different sociocultural standpoint. They are all about fathers with dreams, maybe misplaced dreams, who forcibly relocate their families to realize those dreams and run into an unbelievable set of problems, and in the end, still have to overcome it to hold their families together. That describes all three of those movies. In Minari, it's a Korean family in Arkansas. In Mosquito Coast, it's Harrison Ford in the jungle. Yeah. Which is maybe the craziest of all. In The Nest, which is really much more nuanced, it is an English father, Jude Law, and his American wife, Carrie Coon, and their American kids. He relocates them back to England after he can't make his American businesses work anymore. And it's, Minari is great, but The Nest is great too. The Nest is an incredibly well-written film. Does not go where you think it's going to go. It has a lot of really, really subtle and powerful and nuanced stuff. It's an absolute masterpiece of 2020. And I hope people rediscover it, because Carrie Coon, I thought for sure would be in the mix for an Oscar. If not a front runner.
Yes, I agree completely.
and she's just amazing. She's Tracy Letts' wife, by the way, just so everybody knows. There's a lot of acting power in that family. But yeah, Carrie Coon, amazing in this, amazing in that movie.
Carrie Coon's always great. Really fantastic in The Leftovers a couple seasons ago. The Father, Florian Zeller's film. That's kind of cool. I'm hoping that has some sort of a commentary track with it, if possible, because that's the only thing that film needs. Commentary track would be fantastic.
It does not, Tim.
Burn.
Not. I know it only has featurettes, which makes me think that we may be in store for a special feature, or like maybe even a Criterion release at some point that will scratch those itches. Yeah, it's only got deleted scenes and a couple of featurettes. They rushed this out. I'm not sure they even realized that they were gonna need to capitalize on it like that. But they should have done more. They should have gotten a commentary. Anyway, The Father, very, very painful movie to watch for me. I spent too many years as a caregiver to my mother and her sister with dementia, but. You tell me, from somebody with a little more distance, it still works for you?
It was a very powerful film. Anthony Hopkins, of course, sort of won that surprise Academy Award for his portrayal of the father. This father is slipping into dementia and perceiving the world in all sorts of ways where no one seems to be who he thinks they are. And in a certain sort of way, it's adapted from a play, of course, so. In a certain sort of way, it has a sort of stage-like a quality to it. It mostly takes place inside that apartment that keeps changing on him. But it's a very, very strong film. Anthony didn't think he was going to win that Academy Award, so nobody did. So he didn't come to the show. He didn't. Nobody did. He just. But there it is. But you know what? It was a perfectly Academy Award winnable performance, despite the fact that nobody thought he was going to win it. It doesn't mean he didn't have it coming, because he was really, really good in that movie.
So, Tim, I know you covered The Mauritanian on radio, the Kevin McDonald movie, which got some love from the Golden Globes. Jodie Foster got no love from the Oscars. Really, I'm really kind of mixed on this movie. Like, I admire the hell out of parts of it, but I'm a little perplexed by other parts of it. You hit me with your take. Well,
that film was making a certain sort of. It's about a Mauritanian who's in Guantanamo, taken off the streets from his home. He's in Guantanamo. He's been there for years, and this Jodie Foster's the lawyer that comes to defend him. And there's a military adjunct, a lawyer who's there, and it's about the things these arguments to go back and forth about what is right, what makes America. Are we going to be the sort of country that snatches people off the street and puts them in prison and leaves them there forever? These are all very interesting arguments for 20 years ago. Yeah. But to be honest with you, they're not interesting arguments for today. And that's the way I felt about it. Yeah. 20 years ago, this would have been a discussion. 20 years hence, I don't want to talk about this. I want to make quick mention, too, of Raya and the Last Dragon. This is out on 4K. We were only sent the Blu-ray for it. Well-meaning film that just doesn't quite work ultimately for me. My daughter enjoyed it while watching it, did not want to watch it again. Now, from a young girl who's 8 years old, who has watched Descendants 3 probably, and I exaggerate not, 8 times in the last 48 hours. I kid you not. I know every word to all those songs. The fact that she doesn't want to see Raya and the Last Dragon a second time does not bode well for Disney's double, triple, quadruple dipping strategy. It's not going to be memorable when it's on Disney+. Part of the problem, frankly, is that even though this is a nice mashup of a lot of Disney mythical stuff from, it's got a bit of Mulan, it's got a bit of, half the other princess stuff that's in it. It's got a little bit of Aladdin. It's all these things kind of mashed together in this thing, which is a post-apocalyptic, hero's journey thing wrapped around this princess who's basically like a Southeast Asian princess trying to restore unity between these kingdoms. Forget about it. It's all, you get the draft. The problem is that Awkwafina plays the mythical dragon, which would be fine if she weren't trying to basically do Robin Williams as the genie. It's too like hip and referential and anachronistic, which you also got a little bit of when Eddie Murphy was doing the dragon in Milan. But Eddie kind of, it was written better there, and the dragon didn't just dominate every single scene. It was like a little bit of comic relief here, a little bit of comic relief there, and that's fine. Robin Williams is the genie. That's the whole point. So Robin Williams is the genie.
Here, you need a little bit more realism. It needs to be a little bit more Mad Max in this post-apocalyptic Southeast Asian world. And when you have Awkwafina, wisecracking left and right, it sort of distracts from that. So, unfortunately, that was a bit of a misfire.
Choices.
Very nicely done, though.
Choices.
Yeah, choices. Very nicely done. A lot of special features, but can't recommend it overly. Excuse me. Let me make mention of a short film here called Sun, which I think is quite creepy, very effective, ultimately very predictable. Sun is about a woman trying to protect her child from people who are determined to take possession of her child. And by take possession, I mean literally take possession, because he may be the Antichrist. And she was once in a cult, and, it's sort of like it wants to be a pseudo-sequel to Rosemary's Baby a little bit, and maybe a semi-prequel to, The Omen. It's sort of, it sort of sits in there a little bit. Has a couple of surprises in it. It's adequate. The scares and the spooks and the creepy stuff are all perfectly reasonable. But maybe I'm just too accustomed to these movies. I knew where this was going from the first frame. I was like, that is that, and that other thing is that, and that thing you're trying to make me believe is not that. That's also that. So you're not pulling anything over me. And sure enough, right down to the last frame, I'm sitting there, I'm watching this thing, and I'm like, here comes the switcheroo. Yeah. Wait for it. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Yeah, I knew it.
Sometimes we've been doing this too long, man. Yeah. City of Lies. If you don't mind, I wanted to holler that. Now, this movie doesn't work at all. Brad Furman's film that basically is taking a look at the whole who shot Biggie thing from the perspective of a detective an actual detective who caught the case, a guy named Russell Poole. Now, here's what is interesting about this movie. Russell Poole. Not Johnny Depp as Russell Poole. He's just kind of phoning it in. But if you look up Russell Poole and his actual involvement with this case, the case of who shot Biggie Smalls, 1997, outside the Peterson Automotive Museum here in Los Angeles, California. I worked the red carpet of the Soul Train Music Awards that night. I talked to every one of those people as they were going into the building. Red carpet was over by about 8 o'clock. All of this happened at 3 a.m. So I was well home and in bed when they were shooting each other on the street. But that night I actually worked that red carpet. The Forrest Whitaker also in this film. You're playing a reporter, an investigator who kind of got the story wrong and wants to fix all of that. Here's what's interesting though. Russell Poole was not only involved with that case, he was also involved with the Rampart case, which brought down that section, a very sort of corrupt section of the Los Angeles Police Department. Russell Poole was also the detective who caught the Enos Cosby case. When Enos Cosby was killed, that was his case. He caught that guy. The guy that killed Enos Cosby is Bill Cosby's son, who was killed in the late 90s on the 405 freeway out near the Getty, not too terribly far from the boot.
I want to say about 96.
Yeah,
the year before this.
Yeah, the year before the thing. Then Russell Poole was also one of the detectives who was involved in the North Hollywood shootout, not a mile from where we live. From where
that Romanian guy with the
flak jackets and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh!
There's footage of Russell Poole in his detective suit with his gun. Russell Poole was involved in all of those things, including this, and he ended up his career sort of inauspiciously. But look, somebody could have just made a movie about Russell Poole. That's how interesting that is. This movie don't work at all. What did they put on it?
Some deleted scenes, audio commentary with Furman and the author of the book, Randall Sullivan, and that's about it. Not much else. I mean, this movie's been on the shelf for about 3 years. Yeah. So it had a very difficult path. I think Johnny Depp's quite good in it, though. I think he's very good.
Well, Johnny Depp in a movie not playing a pirate. I think other than Whitey Bulger, Johnny's only played normal humans, once or twice in the past 20 years.
It's really true. Land is the directing debut of Robin Wright. It is people kind of piled on this film a little bit. I think they were a little unfair. Look, she's directing her first movie. She's going to try to keep it contained. and it's ambitious but contained, and that's what you want. And does it say that she has chops? Yes. And she's directing herself as a woman who, in the wake of trauma, does one of those Man Called Horsey, Dances with Wolves kinds of things. Yeah. And, or Jeremiah Jones. I mean, there's a million of these movies that star men doing this. And this is one about a woman who does it. She, goes to a cabin in the woods that she's inherited and basically just tries to cut herself off from civilization and everything that causes her pain. Fair enough. And it doesn't quite go as planned. And, there's a way of reconnecting with humanity that comes out of this. You sort of know where it goes. It's not an unusual arc. It's kind of mythic. But the way it's put together is very solid. She has a good sense of the camera, of visuals, of how to tell a story when no one's talking, which is not an easy thing. She has a real filmmaker sensibility. Usually you would expect actors when they do, when they make their first films, sometimes very theatrical, too much dialogue, too much acting, too much, thespianism. She has a real cineast's sense of how to, put the camera in places and let things kind of tell the story visually. So I give her a lot of credit for this. It's not a perfect film. It's a little, excuse me. It's a little thin. But she does a really good job with it, and there's a nice featurette on here about that, and I think it's solid. Also, a Movies Anywhere code. So,
yeah, you look, it's no thinner than Nomadland, and in some ways they're kind of the same movie in terms of just that thing. Or this has perhaps more in common with what was that one Reese Witherspoon Into the Wild? No, that was
yeah.
But Reese Witherspoon
a little bit like that.
Yeah, she did one
where she's walking.
Where she's walking. Yeah,
that's a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
I want to make mention of three things that are stone cold crazy among the new films. One of them is Willy's Wonderland. What in the hell is going on with it? Did you see Willy's Wonderland?
No, that was not my week. What happened?
Like it's this insane Nick Cage film, and when I say an insane Nick Cage film, I mean by the measure of other insane Nick Cage films, this is the most insane Nick Cage film of the last 20 years. It's completely bananas. It's like Meet the Deedles crossed with a Nick Cage movie. It's completely bonkers. I don't even know. So Nick, it's like a horror film setup, right? Nick Cage is a guy whose car breaks down in this little out of the way place, and he in order to kind of pay for the repair of his car, he takes a job cleaning this kind of amusement center for kids called Willy's Wonderland, and there's a secret to Willy's Wonderland, which is that suddenly he finds himself doing mythical battle with like animatronic creatures possessed by demons in the middle of the night. It's completely insane. It's totally insane. I don't know who. The only way this movie works is if Nick Cage is in it. He's like fighting puppets. It's ridiculous. Here's another one. William Shatner. The Shat is over 90 years old. Yeah, and he is still playing sexy with Gene Smart in Senior Moment. He's a late life swinging guy, and he likes to drive his sports car a little too fast. Gets his license taken away. Christopher Lloyd plays his buddy, so now he's got to go to traffic school and figure out how to make life work without his license. And he romances Gene Smart, and there it is. That's basically what it is. William Shatner waking up in bed with Gene Smart. Kind of gross, kind of funny at the same time.
What's funny is William Shatner is too old for Gene Smart. That's
way too old.
That's way too old. You back all that up 30 years, and she's 20, and he's still like 80. so yeah. He's just way too old for The Marksman. Hey, dude, that movie. So Liam Neeson, right?
Yeah.
Liam Neeson in this movie, kind of like not exactly doing the Taken guy, which is what he's been doing for about 15 years now, even when he was not necessarily in the Taken movie. He's kind of doing the Taken guy. This is a little bit more interesting. He's still a guy. He's the man. But he's Arizona. He's a rancher kind of guy. And this little Mexican boy is crossing the border and get into the U.S. and fleeing. And Liam would be normally, you'd think he might be the kind of guy that's like, dadgum, people crossing the border. But no, he decides he's gonna take up with this little Mexican boy and defend him against these cartel guys that are trying to kill him for various different reasons. And, it's a crunchy little desert shoot 'em up that I kind of liked. And like I said, Liam not really doing the Taken guy. And I'm always poking him on the show for doing that Taken guy over and over and over again. Well, Liam didn't do the Taken guy. This guy's from Arizona. He wears a hat.
Fantastic. So it's basically straight up Liam Neeson film with a few modifications. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So here's a crazy one. Spare Parts. This is just feminist grindhouse, like of the 70s variety that I haven't seen this in a long time. I mean, this goes back to like Ebony, Ivory, and Jade level stuff, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. No, this is really, really fun. It is. Nick Cage should have been in this one too. Frankly, that would have been really fun. So this is about a punk girl band who are entrapped by a psychotic groupie fan, and they it's a little bit like Saw. I don't want to give this away. I'll give it away. They wake up. They wake up, and he has amputated their arms and replaced their arms with weapons. Okay, so and now it becomes this crazy like gladiatorial. It's off the hook. It's completely crazed. So if you can get into that, it's basically like a Saw film, I guess, with a completely ridiculous premise, but it's fun. It's actually quite a lot of fun. You just have to have a really sick sense of humor for it. So, yeah, I know. I'm going to be coughing the whole show. Spare Parts from RLJE Films. Pixie, as long as we're on the subject of feminist fantasy films, Pixie's great. It's not on Blu-ray. It's only on DVD, which is really sad. But Olivia Cooke is amazing. Oh, yeah. This is an Irish film. It's it has a certain Coen Brothers feel to it. It's an Irish crime story, and Pixie, played by Olivia Cooke, she's trying to sort of orchestrate a heist that will enable her to get out of Ireland and start her life again. But the problem is that the drugs in the middle of this whole thing are wanted by everybody. And you get one of those things where suddenly there are like too many parties all double crossing and crisscrossing and allying with each other to get the drugs, and everybody's accountable to somebody, and somebody's going to pay, and they're going to make somebody else pay. And it gets a little bit convoluted, but it's dark and it's funny. And I got to tell you, Alec Baldwin is this completely psychotic Catholic priest running a drug-running underground of illicit Catholic priests. Is hilarious. He's psychotic. He's fast with a pistol. He puts on that Irish accent. It's pretty great. And Irish priests, they wear those robes, right? The full that go down to the ankles, so they look very like 19th century. The way that they dress. So Alec Baldwin, one of those things.
I love that. Father Hector McGrath is his name. Colm Meaney in that movie too. I love anything with Colm Meaney. And it's just fantastic. Dude, I'm looking here under classic, and I was looking at classic, and there are only a couple of movies there, and one of them, Mission Impossible 25th anniversary. And I'm thinking Mission Impossible 25th anniversary. Surely this is insane. Tom, they just shut down, of course, the current Mission Impossible film because 10, 12 people came up positive for COVID. This, after, I don't know, however many months ago, 3, 4, 5 months ago, Tom went bananas, is out there on the interwebs, Tom going bananas over COVID something or other a few months ago, and they just shut it down. But 25 years, Tom has been running, jumping, slamming, and doing the whole Mission Impossible thing. Of all the Mission Impossible films, I like this one the least.
Do you really?
You know why? Because they make it's 25 years, so if you haven't seen the movie, to hell with you. Because they make Peter Graves' character.
I knew it.
A bad guy.
And
I'm like, I did not watch Peter Graves save the United States of America for 20 years, so many times in a row, for you to take his character and turn him into a bad guy in your hacky ass Mission Impossible film. That pissed me off so much.
I know so many people who feel the same way. I totally get it. Here's why I'm forgiving of this film, because the knock stealing scene may be the best thing that Brian De Palma ever directed.
Yeah.
It's just, I get it. I get all the other complaints, but that one scene is just such a classic piece of cinema. It's so beautifully put together. It just kills me. So I still like it. I still forgive it. But you know what? Let's remember, 25 years of Mission Impossible movies, Tom still looks the same.
Yeah.
More than like 30 years worth of waiting for a Top Gun sequel, he still looks the freaking same.
Yeah.
Tom, in 30 years, has not aged.
No, I love it.
Quite impressive.
Way to hold it down, Tom. Yeah.
Way to hold it down.
Keeps me in the gym.
Couple other new movies real quickly. Tom and Jerry the movie, absolutely terrible. No Reason to Exist. It's on Blu-ray. I can't recommend this to anybody. The only thing that makes this even remotely worthwhile is that Ken Jeong is in it. And Ken Jeong makes everything better. I mean, there's a few other cameos in here, but like Michael Pena is really great, and Colin Jost is really great, and Chloe Moretz is in it. They're all fun. It's not Tim Story's fault that it's not good. They nobody could have made a good movie out of this script. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
Fun cameos, but nobody needed that movie. Shoplifters of the World. What a weird movie this is. So they made an entire movie, an entire period film about a bunch of really forlorn kids on the night that the Smiths break up. And it's about how they all lose their minds and can't cope with life. Like, as depressing as a Morrissey song is, they're even more depressed because the Smiths are broken up. So like life is ending and the world has no meaning anymore. And one kid goes and like holds a DJ at gunpoint and makes him play the Smiths all night long. It's ridiculous. It's based very loosely on a real incident, but I guess I get it, but do we need a movie about people who are obsessed by the Smiths?
No.
Like not the Stones, not the Beatles, not a band that like anybody sort of universally acknowledges as, something that made a difference, not, the Smiths.
Yeah.
Like what? I don't get it. Okay, fair enough. One other nutty thing here, Benny Loves You, speaking of the stuff from the Nick Cage film. So Benny Loves You is a murderous puppet. I didn't watch this, and the reason I didn't watch this is because they tried too hard, because I get this box in the mail. I'm like, what is this box? I open it up. The box is a picture of a puppet on it. What is this box that has a picture of a puppet on it? I open it up. There's this Blu-ray inside, along with the actual puppet. That's very weird. A puppet holding a knife. A puppet, basically a Muppet, holding a bloody knife. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm not going to let my daughter play with it. Am I going to put it on the mantle? What am I going to do with it? Nothing. It's trash. You're trying to make me say something nice about your movie. Don't do that. Okay, that's all I have to say. Benny Loves You is the movie. It's very strange. It's very freaking strange. Let's finish off some of the rest of these here. So real quickly, a couple from Shout Factory. Explorers and the King Kong from 1970, whatever it was. The Dino De Laurentiis King Kong.
Oh, that one,
yeah, with Jessica Lange in the giant fake ape hand.
Yeah. Hey! Let's Jessica Lange, young. That's young Jessica Lange there. and
Sure
there's a moment in that movie when she's wearing whatever the hell she's not wearing, and that monkey blows her off. And
let me just say,
I'm like, wow.
We do have to pay tribute to someone who has just left us, who was in this movie, Charles Grodin.
Yes, Charles. Yes, I forgot about it. He plays the part that Jack Black would play later in the much worse King Kong. Charles is actually very good in that movie.
He's very good. Jeff Bridges. Look, everyone's pretty good in this movie.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges with that beard.
It was kind of the highlight of John Gillerman's career. John Gillerman had done he was one of the last of those guys who made a lot of big action and war.
The Blue Max,
right? So Gillerman had done a lot of stuff like that, and this is kind of the tail end of his career. Screenplay by Lorenzo Semple Jr., who of course did Flash Gordon and tons of Batman stuff. I mean, Lorenzo Semple and some James Bond stuff. Lorenzo Semple Jr., good, solid, kind of campy screenwriter. And it's got some credentials. It just, for whatever reason, it didn't, it didn't all quite come together. But there's some nostalgia. So we talked about Super 8. Explorers kind of falls into that same pre-Stranger Things vibe. A lot of young actors here that have gone on to do big things. I mean, Ethan Hawke most notably. I'm kind of fond of this movie when I come back to it. Joe Dante, did this on the heels of Gremlins, and I think it's a nice artifact of the '80s, 1985. Not a bad film. He had also done his Twilight Zone segment leading into this.
Yep.
So this is a nice Shout Select collector's edition with a lot of great extras on it. It has both the home video and the theatrical cut of the film. They're a little different, not significantly. It's got deleted scenes with optional commentary by Joe Dante and an all-new documentary compilation, a science fiction fairy tale, The Story of Explorers, which has all new interviews with everybody involved. It's pretty great. So fans of Explorers, unite and celebrate. What else do we got? Should we do TV? Jump into TV?
Yeah, we can do some TV. I see the Ultimate 90210 collection. What do they mean by that? The Ultimate 90210 collection. 1990, that series 90210. Bridget also did an episode of that. So 90210.
This is the ultimate. This is actually a rather extraordinary monster box of all 10 seasons of the thing. In a giant box set. It is massive. It is huge. This has not been out this way before, and it's the whole thing. And you know what? I have to confess, I did not watch every single episode this last week. I didn't have time. 10 seasons would take me a month, and I'm not gonna.
Well, look, 90210, let me just say that 1990 to the year 2000, so the series encapsulated the entire decade of the 90s, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Which I think is makes it a really sort of interesting time capsule. Of at least of sort of Southern California of the 90s, that you and I were living at that time, Beverly Hills 90210. And I think that's a sort of interesting thing. I like that series. I thought that it sort of, it matured over the course of that 10 years from being about these kids in high school to being about these young adults trying to make their way in the world.
It is an iconic show for people who are of a certain age. And I was not that age, but I know a lot of people who were, and they related to those characters in very much the same way that fans of Friends related to those characters. And it was equally well cast. It just wasn't a comedy. But look how many actors it gave us. Everybody on that show became some kind of an independent star.
Yeah.
So we also have the complete series of CSI New York, all 9 seasons with Gary Sinise. I can't believe this ran for 9 seasons. That kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how long shows run now. I mean, you remember shows used to run for like 4 or 5 years, 6 years, and that was it.
Yeah.
Now it's like 12, 13, 15, 9, 10. It's crazy.
Yeah. If you got 3 seasons, you can go into syndication back in the day. Now, man, you can, yeah.
And gobs of extras on this. It's like 9 hours of special features on this. I don't know if CSI New York necessarily justifies that. But, for people who can't get enough of the Gary Sinise and everybody else, there it is. Much more my speed is The Bureau, the complete series.
Oh, yeah.
15 discs. This is a really, really super sharp show. This is a French series, of course, which is one of the, toughest cop shows on television. And it's just super great. People who don't like reading subtitles have all responded to it. We've talked about the show before. This is now a complete box set with the whole thing, and 15 discs, man. It's absolutely great. 5 seasons. Just it's top notch television. French television has totally resurrected. It used to be all garbage. It's pretty great now. Pretty great. Let's see what else we got here. I got as long as we're on the CBS Paramount thing, I'm just going to pull a few of these out really, really quickly and just make super fast mention of them. I'm not a huge fan, by the way, of the Lower Decks, the Star Trek comedy animated show. I think that's really weird. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. It's weird. It's like it's Rick and Morty in Star Trek land. I don't like it. It's got tons of special features on it, but I don't like watching this. It's just it feels wrong. Does it feel wrong to you?
Yeah, well, it's so wrong that I only watched one. But look, it's funny, but you still got to get the lore right. You got to get the nature of the characters right, and they want to do exactly the opposite of that. And both for those of us who are actually Trekkers, no, what I want is them to be who they are, and so I don't need your funny take on it. Bite me.
And then, as long as we're talking about Berlin, we've got another
Berlin
cool
Station.
Berlin spy series, Berlin Station, season 1, 3 discs.
Love that too.
It's a good show, man. It's a great show. It's a contemporary spy series. A U.S. agent who's just gotten to Berlin and has this mission to unmask this other secret agent. It's pretty great stuff. Really good writing, very sharp, well directed. I like where this show is. I like where it lives. Berlin Station, the first season. Tell Me a Story, the second season, is also pretty intense. I did not see the first season. This is created by Kevin Williamson, who's no slouch, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me again. Basically it's a modern day fairy tale series, and it reimagines fairy tales in a contemporary way. And this one starts off with Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty, and Cinderella. Gives them a modern twist. I think it's very, very clever, very smart. The way it's contextualized, good writing. Also, Dead to Me, season 2, which is very, very funny. Yeah, this is very, very funny. Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate are a great dark comedy duo, and I think it's I think this is a fun show.
Well, I love that Linda, both of whom, we know from when they were child actors. Christina Applegate, of course, Married with Children, Linda Cardellini, whatever that Judd Apatow show was back in the 80s that launched her career. And they've really both just developed into these sort of wonderful actresses. They can do the comedy, do the drama, the whole thing. Fantastic. Loved Dead to Me.
Yep, it's good stuff. Let's see. What else do we have here? Charmed. Got Charmed on Blu-ray.
I've always been a big fan of Charmed. I just can't help it. In all its iterations, that 90s Charmed with Shannon Doherty and everybody. I love that one. And this new Charmed with all the Latino and the black girl. I like it too. I can't help it. I like that series.
Well, this is the original series, third season, and on Blu-ray. And, witches especially attractive witches, just always make for really, really great television. Not much, by the way, of extras on here. Just 22 episodes from the season 3, but they're on Blu-ray and very nicely remastered. Infinity Train Book 2 is continuing this Cartoon Network premise that is quite very creative. Deals with the kind of alternate universe concept of Mirror World and this adventure and through what is kind of the television animated multiverse, and it's pretty smart and fun, and it's one of the better things on Cartoon Network. And then let's talk for a second about Ancient Aliens season 13.
Season 13, geez, Willikers.
I know. Eric Von Daniken is rolling in his grave thinking, why couldn't I have just lived another, 40 years? Because seriously, he'd be a billionaire with this stuff by now.
Yeah, man.
So we're Ancient Aliens season 13. Okay, fair enough. We're going, Easter Island. We're doing all the usual Chariots of the Gods, Von Daniken stuff, and still trying to convince people that aliens have been visiting the Earth for, thousands and millions of years. But then all of this stuff, we are literally now like a week and a half or 2 weeks away from some alleged government report on UFOs.
Oh, yeah.
That you and I both know is going to consist of, we've seen some things we don't really know how to explain, and we still don't know how to explain them, and there it is. It will be unremarkable.
Yeah.
There's no guy is going to walk up to a microphone and say, all right, everybody, you're right. We've been totally lying. We have a spaceship in Hangar 18 in Roswell, and we've mastered warp drive.
Yeah.
We've been venturing to other solar systems. We have aliens living among us. That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. There will be no reveal of a Stargate. That's just no. They call them something else now. They don't call them UFOs anymore. They call them UAO, UAP. I don't know what it is.
I know they changed
the name. I'm like, what makes you think is it changing the designation.
Dude, this happens all the time. Everybody's always changing names of things. Like a UFO, it's too mystical. We're going to call it something else. Everyone's still going to call it UFO. Yes. They did this with, like, after the movie South Central. Remember the movie South Central?
Oh, yeah.
After that, the neighborhood councils in South Central decided to start calling them South Los Angeles to get rid of the stigma. Oh, well, you know what? Now South Los Angeles has a stigma. It didn't change.
It doesn't change anything. Stop it. Oh my God, it's hysterical. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, so they're all UFOs. I don't know what's going to come out of that, but I find it weird that they're saying that these little Tic Tac sized UFO things have actually been seen on a regular basis by the U.S. military since the 1940s.
Well, here's the deal. And because I was in the Air Force for years, and we used to do all this sort of investigations all the time. Here's the reason why the things that we call UFOs, unidentified things that are in the air that we can't see, and they're always fuzzy and unidentifiable. Well, because they are in fact fuzzy and unidentifiable, that's how we know that we don't know what they are. because they're fuzzy and unidentified. You see, if it's not fuzzy, if it's in focus and you can see it, then you can see that that's a ship, that's a weather balloon, because it's in focus. And there are all kinds of sort of scientific ways to figure things out. People always go off the deep end about these things, and just about all the time, when you do the hard math, because it's flying at 9,000 miles an hour and it's turning on a dime and it's doing all this kind of sort of wacky stuff that they claim. None of that stuff is ever true. It has to do with understanding what you're looking at and having all of the correct data points, how far it is, and all this kind of stuff. And if you do have that information, you can identify what that thing is every single time. When you don't have that information, you have to make it up, and then you make it up to be a unidentified flying object. That's the way that works.
Tim, here's how I look at this. We have never had so many cameras in the world shooting so much stuff all the time with such clarity.
Yep.
I can log onto the internet and I can see clear photos of everybody's freckle, everybody's baby, everybody's cat, everybody's dog, everybody's surgical scar, everyone on the planet on a Facebook feed. So I'm sorry, with all of those cameras snapping all the time, with public surveillance cameras all over China, all over the UK, all over the United States, Ring doorbells in front of every damn house, photographing the street all night long, coyotes and raccoons and possums that get shot.
In 4K high definition.
4K high definition, you name it, night vision. And I'm not, no. If there's a UFO somewhere, one of those things would have captured.
Yes.
Don't show me U.S. government surveillance UFOs.
Fuzzy.
No. Show me my neighbor's 4K Ring doorbell.
Yes.
That's where the proof will be.
You'll know when the aliens are here, because it's gonna be like Independence Day, when that big shadow. Then you won't need any. You'll look up and you'll be like, oh. I think we got it this time. So yeah. Doctor Who, I see here, Revolution of the Daleks.
Yeah.
I am about Doctor Who. What era of Doctor Who is that particular set? Who's the Doctor?
Let me
the Revolution of the Daleks.
Let me dig into it. Hang on just a second. Let me go grab it.
I love my Doctor Who.
Yes, we got Doctor Who on Blu-ray, Revolution of the Daleks. This is brand new Doctor Who. This is our Jodie Whittaker.
This is
Doctor
Jodie,
Who.
Our girl Doctor Who. That's fantastic.
This is Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who. And of course, the initiation of every Doctor Who has to be that they got to fight the Daleks.
Oh yeah,
I mean it's a thing, right?
Yeah, the Daleks and eventually the Master. That's
it. You aren't a Doctor Who unless you fought the Daleks. It's great. No, Jodie Whittaker. I have to say, Jodie Whittaker is one of my favorite Doctor Who's in years.
Oh yeah,
in years.
Oh yeah. There's some haters at the top, but you know what? Get over yourselves.
No, she's great.
She has all this sort of bon vivant and energy of my favorite Doctor Who, Tom Baker from the fourth Doctor. I think it's Tom Baker. But if we're talking about these modern Doctors, I appreciate your David Tennants. I appreciate your Matt Smiths and all that kind of. Even Peter Capaldi was interesting.
Yeah.
But Jodie Whittaker Father. I can see Tom Baker in her there with a little bit of Sylvester McCoy in her. I think Sylvester was the maybe 6th or 7th Doctor or something like that. So, that reaching back to the old school is something that she did that I really thoroughly enjoy.
No, I like it. I think she's sharp. I think she's got exactly the profile that a doctor needs to have. I mean, she knows the character. She's not trying to reinvent the wheel. She came in and she said, "I'm going to do the Doctor my way, but it's still going to be the Doctor." She gets it. She knows what fans want. She brought it. It's fantastic. Got a couple of little Shudder things here real quickly as well. The Reckoning, fear spreads like the plague. Yeah, this is The Reckoning is pretty straightforward horror stuff. It's exactly what people expect on Shudder. But I mean, right now, like for example, did you see the new Conjuring?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. It kind of takes it way back.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's really not bad at all. I kind of like I like where it went. So Satanism is in again, just so everybody knows. Satanism's a hip thing again for the first time since Shelley Winters in the 1970s was like a satanic sorority mom. And this is cool. This takes place during the Great Plague. It's a period thing, and Charlotte Kirk is this widow whom they think is a witch, and she has to kind of go face to face with like the ultimate inquisitional witch hunter guy, and that is where that's where all the like it's fake Satanism until the real satanic spirits start entering the equation, and then then like all hell breaks loose.
Like literally.
I had to give that a good lead in. And then another Shudder original is the Mortuary Collection, which is also really, really fun period horror. This is, it's a, I don't know how to even begin on this. It's kind of an anthological, excuse me. I'm going to keep coughing. Get used to it, people. Basically, it's an anthological look at horror in this one particular town, this one small town, and it's got a great cast in it. Clancy Brown is great. Yeah, Clancy Brown's great. I mean, he's really, really aged into these kinds of things. He brings still so much gravitas. It's actually pretty fun, and I wouldn't be averse to seeing this turned into a kind of Tales from the Dark Side series.
Yeah,
there's a ton of special features on here, but I think with a little bit of good feedback, they might just say, let's take this and let's do this on a regular basis, a season over season thing. So, Mortuary Collection is worth taking a look at as well. Let's see. As long as we're on the subject of ghosts, let's talk about Power Book 2 Ghost, the complete first season on Stars. Tim, did you get a look at this?
Yeah. Interesting stuff, kind of fun.
It's like a sequel to Power, right? That's the whole thing. And I never watched Power that much, but this is good, strong writing, and I kind of like where it goes. I like the whole.
It picks up with the sun, Omari Hardwick and all that kind of stuff. What happened to Ghost? And Omari Hardwick was Ghost. He was the character Ghost, and so some stuff went down with him. This picks up with the sun. There we go.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's good legal procedural stuff, and we haven't had that for a long time. And Stars is doing some good work. I'm kind of impressed. And Stars now is owned by Lionsgate. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And who owns and MGM owns the other one, which is I forget the name of. There's the other one. I always get Stars and the other one mixed up.
The other streaming Showtime
streaming network. No, MGM owns it. There's one that's because it's now going to be part of Amazon.
Oh, yes, and that deal, yeah.
Epix. That's what it is. Yeah. I always get Stars and Epix mixed up. So Stars is part of Lionsgate. Epix is part of MGM. Epix is now going to be over with Amazon. And what's that going to... We didn't even talk about that, by the way, because that happened since our last show. Let's take time out just for a second. 2 giant mergers. So Warner Brothers basically is now part of Discovery. Mm-hmm. AT&T didn't sell them to Discovery. AT&T orchestrated a stock swap and merger. Mm-hmm. So Warner Brothers is part of a new company with Discovery, and AT&T owns 72% of that company. So it owns the controlling share, but it could sell it tomorrow. It's not the same company as it was before. It's not a subsidiary. It just happens to be a majority shareholder. So basically, Warner Brothers is free of that AT&T nonsense now.
Yeah, and they can figure out what they're going to do. Their deal with HBO and all that business. And then, of course, the other one, which is also the Amazon Prime, MGM. What's funny when we talk about these mergers, these acquisitional sort of situations, is that the top dog in them is always the reverse of whom I would. If we're talking about Warner Brothers, you think Warner Brothers would be the top dog in the act. No, Warner Brothers is the thing getting, and same thing here. MGM is the thing being eaten up by this young upstart Amazon Prime. I mean, these companies, the venerable Hollywood companies, Warner Brothers and MGM, are fodder. They're the things that these big, relatively new companies, 20-year-old companies or whatever, they come in and they have billions of dollars and they buy them and they take up the libraries. You noted that MGM will, for the first time in I don't know how many years, 20, 25 years, however, have an actual home on a lot in Southern California.
First time in decades.
That's a big deal.
MGM's going to have. It is a big deal. I mean, I know a lot of people are really upset about the it's like the MGM's library is being treated as just a commodity and whatnot. But let me tell you something. MGM's been owned by a hedge fund for a decade. Amazon is a step up from a hedge fund because that hedge fund has not done squat with MGM. It's been really destructive. A lot of bad stuff has gone down. I'm privy to a lot of it. I can tell you, it's a step up for MGM from where they were. It's a big step up. Primal. This is Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal, the complete first season. This is an Adult Swim animated show, prehistoric show. It's kind of like the Flintstones, except not funny at all. It's a caveman. It's a caveman and dinosaur tale. Scientifically, it is. Anthropologically, I don't find that it doesn't make sense at all. It's like it makes as much sense as the Flintstones, right?
Yeah. Hey,
but when it comes to, it's really good animation.
When it comes to I'm a Samurai Jack guy. I love me some Samurai Jack. Again, Tartakovsky, but this one we'll see.
Yeah, whatever. Ultraman Leo. I never saw this, Tim.
No.
I never saw Ultraman Leo. I lost track of the Ultraman series after the third one. There's 10 of them or whatever. This is the seventh and final of the original 7 Ultraman series from the 70s. And, we've had 5 or 6 since or whatever it is. Anyway, this is from 1974, and it's they bring all the previous Ultramen back, and it just gets really hard and deep into the Ultraman lore. A lot of people in tight suits and masks stomping on little miniature cities and shooting lasers out of their arms. I don't know. 51 episodes of Ultraman Leo in high def in this steelbook, which is part of Mill Creek's ongoing Ultraman complete Ultraman release. If you haven't caught the first 6, you're going to be totally lost. And I have caught the first 6, and I'm still lost.
Ultraman.
So I don't know what to do.
Ultraman is from Nebula. It's from the Nebula L77. From the
I'm
L77.
so glad you know that. I'm so glad you know that.
I should not know that, but I do. That is sad.
What else do we have on the TV front here?
The MacGyver season 4.
Oh my goodness!
Which is look, you know how I am with all of my television series of the 80s being reconceived and they irritate me. I've never been able to watch any MacGyver other than My MacGyver, and it blows me away that this MacGyver has actually made it to season 4. I think it's all done though. This MacGyver, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it is too. I mean, it gives it a good shot. There's some kind of slick direction in this, but he's not charming. Yeah. He tries to be. No. He's trying too hard to be charming.
He's just no Richard Dean Anderson, man. He's no
the
Richard
thing that made Richard Dean. See, that's the thing that made Richard Dean Anderson charming was he wasn't trying.
Yeah, he wasn't trying. He didn't care.
The Snoopy collection. This is the first 4 big screen movies with Snoopy in them. A Boy Named Charlie Brown, Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, Snoopy Come Home, and Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown. All in a single Paramount Blu-ray collection. It's pretty great. I mean, I love these. I love these movies. I think they're a whole lot of fun. So I kind of gotta give it up. Yeah, why not? By the way, we are gonna. I should have mentioned earlier. We are gonna have a giveaway right at the end of the show. So hang with us, and I will release that one as soon as we come right to the end. Fuller House. Let me mention of Fuller House, the 5th and final season of Fuller House. I was never a fan of Full House. Wasn't so much a fan of rebooting it as Fuller House. I don't really quite understand the point. But you know what, Tim? It made it 5 years.
They got 5 seasons out of that thing,
man. They got 5 seasons out of this. Who's watching?
Everybody's rebooted their residual checks for the grandkids, which I appreciate. But there you go.
No, I mean, this is where TV is. Like 5 seasons used to be like, holy cow, what a hit that is. And I look at this and I'm like, you got 5 seasons out of Fuller House?
And I never saw a single one. I must tell you, I never saw a single one. Not a single one.
Clearly somebody did. Yeah. Clearly somebody did. Let's see a few others here. Some nice little period stuff from the PBS end of things. PBS and the British TV end of things. Ellen Montgomery's Anne of Green Gables 3-movie collection includes Anne of Green Gables, The Good Stars, and Anne of Green Gables Fire and Dew. There's not a lot out there, not a lot of kind of period wish fulfillment stuff for little girls. So I'm grateful for this and for how much love and care they put into these things. My daughter's not quite old enough, I don't think, for Anne of Green Gables, but soon enough, I think she'll thoroughly enjoy it. So this is a nice collection. Miss Scarlet and the Duke from PBS, starring Kate Phillips and Stuart Martin. This is a part of Masterpiece's Mystery. This is Lady Detective in Victorian London, which is really fun. It's like a female Sherlock Holmes, right?
I love it.
It's really, really good stuff. It takes place in the 1850s, and it is quite literally the exact same milieu as Sherlock, and so they just kind of take that and run with it and give it a little bit of a little cool little feminist twist. And then Jekyll and Hyde from the people at ITV by way of PBS is a reimagining of sorts, but not too much of one, of the classic Robert Louis Stevenson story. And it's very stylishly done. This one takes place in London of the 1930s, just on the eve of World War II. And it's very, very slick and very cool. It has a wonderful cast. Tom Bateman, Sinead Cusack is in it, Christian McKay, Michael Kareem, Amelia Bullmore. It's a really, really solid cast of some very, very good British and European talent. So Jekyll and Hyde, the ITV version originally seen here on PBS. Let's see. Got so many other things here that we have not been able to get to. Finding Joy. Let me do the Acorn stuff.
Okay.
And start with Finding Joy. Finding Joy Series 2 is stars Amy Huberman. I'm telling you, I'm going to be coughing the whole show. So this is an Irish comedy starring Amy Huberman as an internet sensation who is an influencer based on her, her pep talk. She's got her dog, and she's, she puts herself in these bizarre situations, and the Paul Reed plays her cameraman, and the whole thing is kind of amateurish. And how do you manage to be a television network of one? And, it's sort of like Mary Tyler Moore in 2021 without the TV station. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. So Finding Joy, Amy Huberman is really, really delightful. It's got a real great Irish sensibility to it. It's a lot of fun. The Southwesterlies, also from Acorn. This is an Acorn original. This is it takes place in West Cork. And it's not a comedy. It's basically like, I don't know, Falcon Crest is maybe a good analogy for this one. It's kind of Falcon Cresty. It's sort of Falcon Cresty, but it's got a light sensibility. No, you know what it is? It's like Northern Exposure. There you go.
Yeah.
It's got more of a Northern Exposure vibe to it. And wonderful Orla Brady is the lead. Is beautiful. She's an environmentalist, environmental consultant out in Cork. It's got a cool, lovely, quirky little cast. It's very, very charming. And then lastly, from the Acorn people is Bang Season 2 or Bang Series 2, which is also, I mean, they get great locations out of these UK shows and these Commonwealth shows. This is a cop show, also female-centric. Katrin Stewart, previously from Doctor Who, is a detective sergeant, and she's, got to find the serial killer, and then it just becomes a great procedural from thereafter. A lot of really good supporting performances here from, solid British TV talent. So Bang, Series 2, good show. Check it out. Hopefully that lasts a few more series.
You got a few Criterion down there, I see.
Yeah, let's knock out those Criterions,
including Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah, 1982. Geez Willikers. Amy Heckerling. Haven't thought about her in a long time. Cameron Crowe, of course, a screenplay. Young Cameron Crowe writing that screenplay. Sean Penn, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Judge Ryan. All Forrest Whitaker in that movie. A lot of folks, who were young in their careers in 82, who went on to have real sort of serious careers. Look. Some of the stuff in that film you might have a hard time getting away with today, but to my mind, it's still mostly funny. And I always thought that it captured the notion of teenage high school angst better than the John Hughes films did. John Hughes, of course, made a whole bunch of those movies, his films were a little bit slicker. Amy Heckerling's film, this Cameron Crowe film, it's not quite that slick. It's not, it has a little heartache in it. These films without the sort of grandstanding that happens in some of those John Hughes films.
And I have to say, the thing that always killed me about Fast Times, which I saw at I was that age, and I can say two things about Fast Times, and this is a really, really beautiful Criterion Collection release. I mean, it's got a new conversation with Heckerling and Cameron Crowe, moderated by Olivia Wilde, which is very, very revealing and very smart. And the original 1999 documentary that was with interviews with cast and crew, and then audio discussion from 1982 with Heckerling and the American Film Institute. Here are the two things about Fast Times. Number one, the front of the high school was actually the front of a mall here called Santa Monica Place, which I used to go to when I was in high school, and that was where we would go and eat. And it's been since remodeled, and it's become all very high-end and splashy. But the mall as it existed, which they redressed for the front of the high school, is no more. So I'm a little nostalgic about that. The other thing, I'm not sure I've ever mentioned this before, but I know with a fair degree of certainty that the character Spicoli, the way performed by Sean Penn, is based on a family that I grew up with, that I went to school with. I will not name the names, but there are a number of brothers, and they all are Spicoli. Every last one of them. One of them was my age, another one a couple of years older, and then there's another one that was 2 years younger, who was like a human version of Animal from the Muppets. And I will never forget a day in junior high school when that youngest brother, I was walking along like one of the buildings, the outside pathway by the classrooms, and he's coming the other way going like this. And he's banging his head on the railing repeatedly, like bam, 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 and with a big grin on his face.
Oh my!
He walked right past me, and I thought, I don't even know what's going on there.
Well, today
I don't even know what's going on.
Today we'd be able to diagnose that, and there'd be a pill. that kid could take.
Anyway,
merrily we go to hell. Is that the Dorothy Arzner film?
Yes.
That's so past 1932. I love this. That's fantastic. Yeah, Dorothy Arzner, one of the few, and there are actually more than we acknowledge now, women directing major studio films and doing that sort of golden period, 20s, 40s, whatever. Dorothy, and also sort of eventually sort of an out gay woman too. Dorothy was I think she died in like the late 70s or something, but she was still doing sort of university tours, until she passed away, and I got a chance to meet her, and I don't know, whatever, undergraduate school or something like that. Dorothy Arzner, fantastic.
Yeah, Merrily We Go to Hell, by the way, loaded with pre-code scandalous stuff. There are sexual and drug things in this movie that are, in just a few short years, would be gone. I mean, 32, the code comes in around 33. So there's maybe a year and a half that before this all goes away. So this is a great pre-code film. Yeah, just pushing all kinds of buttons. Frederick March is absolutely terrific. Sylvia Sidney also
very, very, very young Cary Grant in that movie. Very young Cary.
True. Trances is also out from Criterion, a movie I had no knowledge of whatsoever. This is about a Moroccan band called Nas El Ghiwane or Ghiwane, and it's a documentary about this band that was shot during a series of performances in Tunisia, Morocco, and France, and it was made in 1981. And I knew nothing about this. I knew nothing about the band, nothing about anything. So it's a really unusual Criterion release. You just look at this and you go, "What? I don't even know what this is." But it's really fascinating. It gets into the politics of music in the Arabic world at that time and now, and a lot of the cultural influences, Berber and Arabic and everything else. It's quite a good film. It's even though it's completely alien in many respects, it's just really fascinating and nicely put together. Flowers of Shanghai by Hu Xiaoxian. Yeah, it's beautiful. A little too slow for my taste, from 1998. But it's an absolutely beautiful film by the great Taiwanese director, and it's a nice little a lot of 19th century Shanghai court intrigue, and Tony Leung is great. Michiko Hada as his mistress is equally great. It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. Again, you got to get with the pace, but it's got great extras on it as well, including a feature-length documentary. Pretty terrific. Yeah. And then the last one here, Nightmare Alley, Tim. You ever see Nightmare Alley? Oh, yes. The Tyrone Power thing from 1947? Oh, yes.
It's not a bad, gritty little movie. Again, that Tyrone Power, he was a big movie star. People, he's one of the big movie stars of that day, whose name, I don't know, unlike, say, I don't know who else was, Burt Lancaster, whose name sort of went away a little bit. Tyrone Power was a handsome, hell of a leading man, a good actor.
Yeah. Well, my father was one of the teachers. Oh, yes. Good actor. Yeah. So I'm gonna own that. Joan Blondell in this as well. Closer to the end of her studio career, but pretty great. Mainly a comedian in her heyday with Warner Brothers. But this is a cool little movie. It takes place in a traveling carnival and gets very dark and noirish. Nicely moody, very moody filmmaking by Edmund Goulding.
Tyrone died young, I think. That might be.
He did.
Yeah,
he did. There's an audio commentary here from originally recorded in 2005 by James Orsini and Alan Silver. And then there is a new interview with film critic Imogen Sarah Smith talking about it as well. And a few other little interview and audio tidbits that give you some good background on why this is a cool film from 1947. Let's see what else we got. Santa Sangre, Tim, the Jodorowsky film.
Oh yeah,
is out in this splashy set from Severin, which I did not see coming. I mean, I'm not even going to try to describe this. This is one of the weirdest movies of all time.
Well, it's Jodorowsky.
I know. Jodorowsky just completely losing his mind and going full avant-garde and experimental. I mean, this is just... It's like Jodorowsky vomiting his id and all of his hallucinatory madness onto the screen. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, that and Holy Mountain, I would, I would have loved to have seen what happened if he would have ever gotten his Dune But there's a documentary about his, not getting Dune.
I know.
Off, which is sort of interesting.
Yeah, Jodorowsky's Dune. Anyway, this is a great big splashy 4-disc set with 4K UHD of the film. So you get Santa Sangre in 4K and 8 hours of bonus features plus a soundtrack CD. It's just not to be believed. The extras on here are interviews and featurettes, and there's like a 30th interview celebration from Mexico City, and I mean, if you want a Jodorowsky high, this Severin Santa Sangre release is for sure it. And it is a beautiful transfer. I mean, I saw this movie once at a festival, and it was, I don't want to say it was ugly, but it was dated. It was bleached out and wasn't the best print. And this is, I've never seen the film look this good. I've never seen it this good. So whatever they did, man, it was the mother of all cleanups. They really did a great job on it. Really, really terrific job.
Yeah.
A few other things from Arrow here. Let's just mention some of these cool Arrow releases, and then we'll go to our giveaway and wrap the show up. The Bloodhound is a short but still rather interesting movie in the Edgar Allan Poe genre. This was first-time director Patrick Picard, who was basically using the Fall of the House of Usher as the basis for this rather interesting thriller that doesn't quite follow all the original beats. Mm-hmm. This is a recent film. This is made about a year or so ago, and it's compelling. I wouldn't call it great. I would say listen to the commentary that Picard does with his editor and understand what they're going for, and then maybe watch the film again and see if it kind of changes the way that you see it. But it's actually very, very ambitious and interesting. The Bloodhound. Graveyards Honor. Graveyards of Honor is the Kinji Fukasaku and Takashi Miike both doing the same story. Many years apart. Fukasaku made his in 1975. Miike made his in 2002. And this is the two films in a single 2-disc set. Now, the question is, which of them told the story better? And I don't think either of them told the story perfectly, but I think both of them told it very stylishly. I will leave it to you to decide which one is the better one. But it's an interesting idea. Arrow got both of the films and has released them in a single double disc set. Graveyards of Honor.
Loosely based on a true story, that one.
Is it really?
Yeah. Japanese gangster movie is what it is, folks. I
mean, I never, I just assume all the Japanese samurai gangster stuff and Yakuza stuff, it's all, just made up because, I mean, nothing could ever really be like
that. Right?
Apparently not. This is one of the worst titles ever. I am not overly familiar with Teruo Ishii, who is a kind of scandalous and notorious cult director in Japan. Orgies of Ito and, horrors of malformed men, movies like that. They just have these awful titles. And this one is called Shogun's Joy of Torture. So this is basically a family musical. No, it's not. This is an exploitation film, or as they call it, Japsploitation. Not the most flattering name, but this is like Marquis de Sade kind of stuff. It's sort of soft-corey and sick and weird and twisted. And I get it. There's an audience for this. Some people get off on this stuff. I don't particularly, but like I've seen Tokyo Decadence. Yeah, I sort of know. I know the drill. Let's see here. Let me do these. The El Duce tapes, and then we'll bring the show to a close. So if you remember Ryan Sexton, who was on the General Hospital once upon a time, back like 30 years ago. Okay, so Ryan Sexton also fancied himself a filmmaker, and he went to like some of the nastiest parts of Hollywood, clubs and, dirty little corners and whatnot, with a VHS camera. and he shot tons and tons and tons of stuff of this band called the Mentors, and all of their indulgences. And El Duce was their lead singer.
Yeah.
And here we are all these years later, and they've taken all of this nasty footage and they've put together this really weird, surreal look back at this bizarre guy. And it's if it had been made at the time, it would have just been a throwaway movie from the 1990s, right? Like kind of a late 80s, early 90s thing. But now it's this, it almost feels like a snuff film.
Yeah.
Super bizarre.
Yeah.
It's almost like not even, it almost feels like a faux documentary. It's very, very weird.
He wore this sort of black execution, the lead singer, this guy, El Duce, when he was there. The music was terrible. But it was, it was a whole, who are these guys and all this kind of stuff. And it was one of those bands where, like Ozzy Osbourne back in the day, where the lyrics got denounced by all sorts of religious groups, and they held Senate hearings about the lyrics and all that kind of stuff. It was one of those moments when we were kind of doing that in America, and they were one of the sort of minor bands, freakish minor bands that got caught up in it.
You know what? Let me take us out to this. I was hoping to get this covered before the Oscars, but we didn't get one until after the Oscars. But it's fine. So this is a nice. We won't go out on anything S&M and weird and freakish. So. And this takes us into our giveaway. So one of the things that Paramount has released is a Hollywood's Top 10, which is 10 amazing Academy Award-winning Best Pictures in one box set, Blu-ray. And the 10 films are Titanic, Forrest Gump, No Country for Old Men, Terms of Endearment, The Godfather, Gladiator, The English Patient, American Beauty, Wings, and My Fair Lady. All of them now in the Warner Library, which of course includes a whole bunch of stuff. But the Paramount Library, not the Warner Library. These are all part of this Paramount collection, and they've done a really, really nice job. It's all Blu-ray. It's not 4K. But if you don't really care about that, you'll be very, very happy with this. It includes Wings, of course, the first Best Picture, and a whole bunch of other great stuff. And it's a nice collection. They're all good movies. There's no ringers in here. It's really good. And so our giveaway is this. We talked about My Fair Lady. We are going to be giving away 2 copies of My Fair Lady on 4K UHD. And all you need to do is email us at gods@digigods.com, gods@digigods.com, or gods@cinegods.com. And put Lady, Lady, in the subject line. Put your name and address in the body of the email. And make sure it gets to us by Sunday the 13th. And then on Monday the 14th of June, we will pick 2 winners and have Paramount send it out to you. Yeah. So there it is. So Tim, you saw your mom. You had a good birthday with your mom.
Yes, a lovely trip. I can tell everybody who doesn't know already that air traffic, air business, air people flying is pretty much back to normal. That plane was packed in both directions. Which is okay with me. So you got that taken care of and a little bit of business. And it looks like things are sorting themselves out. I got a movie. I think you've already been back to the theater for something. Did you go see? What did you see?
I saw Quiet Place 2.
There you go, back in the theaters. Quiet Place 2. I will be back in the theater for probably The Heights, because I'm on the show coming up, and they so it looks like that'll be my first movie. It's a funny thing after a year, more than a year, to consider what your first film back will be.
That's screenings tomorrow night, right?
Screenings tomorrow night, and over at the theaters.
Dude, I'm probably going to go there and see you because I have not seen you in the flesh in over a year.
Over a year,
and that's insane. I mean, this is the longest that you and I have been apart in like 30
years. Very easy. Look, all this video stuff, I do love it though. The way we do it, it makes everything so. It'll be interesting to see what things we go back to doing the old way, wholly and completely. I mean, but I do not think that everything is going to go back to the old way. My brother in St. Louis, I was in St. Louis. My brother tells me that they've already told him that he's pretty much going to continue working from home. And only occasionally will he have to go into the office, which is just going to make gigantic difference in his life. Already has, obviously, because he's been working from home for more than a year. But now he can see what that difference is.
So you know what?
Worked out.
I will say this. What I think this has done, look, every crisis and catastrophe, everything has a silver lining. Everything that's bad, you got to find a way to make a positive out of it. You know, that's always been like one of my great mantras in life is when bad things happen, when loved ones, get ill, when tragedies happen, you got to find a way to turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
And I think what we're going to find with this, what I know people have found is that a lot of people can work from home. And at the same time, it has also taught us what jobs are best not working from home.
Both ways, yeah.
It works both ways. So I think everyone's going to be a lot more efficient now. You're going to know where you can get the best out of the tools available. And we've certainly all learned to use technology in a way that we never would have been forced to use before.
Oh, my mother is like an expert Zoomer. She can set up meetings and all this kind of stuff. And if look, I just came home from visiting, so obviously that's important. But I got to tell you, we had some family gatherings that were bigger on Zoom over this last year and a half than they were when we actually did them in person.
Yeah,
because people who were scattered to the winds could simply dial into the big Zoom. So 25 people on a Zoom. Is it the same? No, of course it's not the same. But nevertheless, it was a different sort of thing. So I kind of think family gatherings for her birthday. I was there in person for her birthday, but we also did a big ass Zoom for all the people who were where we didn't used to do that. It'll be interesting to see what companies figure out. I know 2 or 3 companies, again, a buddy back in St. Louis, who, he by getting rid of the building that he was renting to do what he does, what his company does, he's saving $5,000 a month, but he's still doing exactly what he did before, but he doesn't have that overhead anymore. And he's just come to realize that overhead was literally just that. Overhead. The whole building was plainly not necessary for him to do what he does. He got rid of the building, and in the building will become something else. Somebody else will rent the building to do something else in the building, but it completely, again, changed the entire dynamic of his business and put $5,000 a month into his actual business. And I know 2 or 3. I know two or three situations like that. So it'll be a very interesting thing. It'll be a very
crazy. All right. Well, it's all good. Everybody, be safe, be well. We're ramping back up to life as normal, but the podcast goes on. Yeah. And we will have hopefully some other. We've been cleaning up the DigiGods site or the CineGods site, and better integrating the DigiGods podcast. We'll have other changes to talk about in the coming weeks. So go out and be well, be kind, and as the laws in your area relax, go out and hug some people, because we all need it after a while.
We should. Look, I don't want to go out on a downer. I did just get a text from a friend who tells me that our beloved actor Clarence Williams III just passed away, has been 81 years old, colon cancer technically. Wow. Clarence Williams, of course, Link from Mod Squad, Clarence Williams the third, Tales from the Crypt, Clarence Williams III. We could go on. So 81 though, a nice long run for Clarence Williams III.
Wow, really a pivotal that bad boy. That just came in, huh? Yeah, right hot off the wire. What a pivotal television actor he was.
He was. He's a part of that period. Him, Bill Cosby, in the middle 60s, late 60s, Ivan Dixon, who were these black men in these extremely important and high-profile television shows. The Mod Squad pulled better than a 30 share for years. That's 30 million people. Sort of representing in a particular way, and had a really long, great career. I worked with him a couple times myself. Yeah,
and those sunglasses, he was so cool on the Mod Squad. It just he just had that look, that with the sideburns and the whole thing. It was just, and as an adult actor too, as an older actor, he was in Purple Rain too.
Yes, he played Prince's father. In Purple Rain.
Boy.
Yeah, he did.
Wow, amazing, amazing, and worth noting too, he played Jelly Roll Morton in Giuseppe Tornatore's Legend of 1900. So he had quite a run. Amazing, Clarence Williams III. Rest in peace.
Yep.
All right, with that, thank you, Tim. We will see you guys next time.
All right, good work, brother.